Hello everybody, welcome to the Medyo Serious Talk Show with me, Red Oliero. We have our guest here, Urban City Planner, Paolo Alcazaren. Kung napadpad kayo sa Pasig, is one of the consultants ba? Tama ba?
Yes.
For making the Pasig River Esplanade. But also one of the designers or the designer of the Iloilo Esplanade. Tama ba?
Kami yung chief consultant
Yun.
sa City of Iloilo.
Great.
For the past 10 years yan.
Yes. So we brought you here because we need your expertise in urban planning and to kind of like assess yung status ng city planning or urban planning natin sa ating napaka-gandang National Capital Region sa Metro Manila.
Ba't ka natawa?
alam ko maraming parts na medyo masarap kilatasin. But na lang we have like 45 minutes to say it, no. So okay, so as an expert of city planning, urban planning, if you would give it a grade, Metro Manila as a whole, overall, a grade of, tumatawa na si sir, 1 to 10, 10 being the
10.
highest.
2.
2! Kala ko mga 5 man lang.
And I'm being generous.
And is it like compared to like if you baseline it
Region.
to other cities and everything, like,
Gawin na lang natin region.
okay, is it,
Southeast Asia.
okay. So, kunwari,
Kung Southeast Asian, siguro mga 4 na tayo.
okay. Ang mga kalaban natin sa kaguluhan dito ay
Kaguluhan?
sa kaguluhan. Like kunwari, kanino tayo
Jakarta.
mako-compare? Ha?
Jakarta.
Jakarta, yeah, okay. So Indonesia is very I've been to most of the countries sa Southeast Asia and yun yung sinasabi kong joke sa stand-up sets ko is like parang ramdam mo agad yung difference pa nag-travel ka. Kasi nakita mo iba yung cities nila when you arrive there. Parang ang unang-unang point na nakita ko is kadalasan sa mga cities na to may sidewalk. Dito, hindi masyadong priority ang sidewalk.
Walang priority.
Can you give insight kung bakit wala tayong priority? In such an densely populated area, wala tayong places to walk.
Well, except for BGC.
Yeah, exactly.
So yung loss of sidewalks nung 20 years ago nung tinawag kami ng Makati CBD,
Yeah.
Masaya yung local association nila. Sila namamahala ng Central Business District sa Makati.
I see.
So we were asked to do a study on pedestrianization. So gumawa kami ng rating ng sidewalks ng Makati. This was 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
1 to 5, ang rating ng Makati is CBD is 3.5 or so.
Okay.
Based on kung may sidewalk na, kung continuous yung paving, hindi bako-bako, kung may shade of protection from the sun,
Gets.
kung klaro yung pagpupuntahan mo, may directional signage at lahat. So yung rating na yan na 3.5 kumpara sa rest of Manila o Metro Manila, ang rest of Metro Manila is -1.
Wow.
Kasi kadalasan nawala na yung sidewalk,
Wala
o
na.
puro poste,
Yeah.
o puro ang tinatawag namin curb cut, yung pwede ka mag-park ng kotse.
Yeah.
Sa ibang bansa, hindi naman pwede yun eh.
Yeah.
You're not allowed curb cuts. Kaya pumunta ka ng Ayala Avenue or BGC, walang curb cut, walang off-street parking na sasampa ka sa...
Tama.
Kasi nawawala yung ginagawang driveway yung sidewalk eh. So sa buong Pilipinas actually, pinapayagan yan eh. Which in other countries, the maximum is yung pwedeng curb cut o pwedeng sumampa yung kotse, yung kailangan mo lang na para makapasok yung kotse sa loob ng lote mo. You're not allowed to park from the street.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it tawag dun, bakit tayo walang priority sa sidewalks masyado? Is it because does it cost a lot to put sidewalks on?
Well, it's in the building code na kailangan may sidewalk. Pero yung minimum puro compliance ang minimum sa buong Pilipinas is just 1.2, 4 feet. Just enough for 2 people abreast.
Oh my.
Diba?
Ako hindi siguro.
Kung ikaw. So kung ito yung sidewalk, ito yung tao.
Yeah.
Yung sidewalk is 1.2.
Tama.
Ito yung kotse. So yan yung minimum. Pero yung 1.2 na yan, ginawa to 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Nung yung density ng Manila or most of the situation ang katabi mo bahay o maliit na gusali lang. So yung proportion dapat ng sidewalk dapat katumbas sa laki ng building. Kaya kung pumunta ka ng Singapore o Tokyo sa CBD,
sarap maglakad.
Ang sidewalk is 4 to 5 meters wide at least. Isang area lang dito sa Pilipinas may ganun, which is Ayala Avenue.
Yeah.
Well, I think, yan lang ang may 5-meter sidewalks.
I think yun nga lang, sa CBD of Makati nga lang talaga ang feeling ko pinaka nilalakad lang na area sa Pilipinas.
Although it took us 20 years to retrofit that, ang CBD Makati, dati yung Ayala lang ang dapat may building.
Okay.
Yung Salcedo at Legazpi villages were designed as residential villages.
Okay.
Hindi nila na foresee na mas malakas ang market for buildings. Kaya ginawa nilang buildings na lang yung. Kaya tawag nila Salcedo Village, Makati, Legazpi Village. Kasama niyan sa mga Dasmariñas, Sanlo.
Okay.
Siyempre, to turn a profit, ginawa nilang commercial district na lang. Kaya yung mga kalye doon maliliit pero may sidewalk. So, ang problema lang, mahahaba yung bloke sa Ayala Avenue itself. And 20 years ago, it would take you 30 minutes just to get from Salcedo Village to Legazpi Village because hindi conducive sa parking. So in the last 20 years, ang ginagawa namin for Masaya is to retrofit along with some other consultants para gawing mas pedestrian friendly.
So when Makati before it was more pedestrian friendly, it had the same problems as the rest of Metro Manila.
Well, less than
the rest.
Manila or much less than Quezon City, which is also not.
So there, kasi ako iniisip ko, I'm coming from a thinking na, or maybe a lot of people are also coming from this thinking na these are not things that we can rectify or improve. You can. Okay. Kasi wala nang space That's what I'm thinking.
You can make space.
Okay.
You can make space by reducing the road width.
I see.
Ginawa namin dito sa Ortigas Business District. Yung Emerald Avenue, F. Ortigas Jr. Nakita namin that if we remove the center island, which we did, we were able to increase the sidewalk by 1.5 meters on each side. Kaya lalapat yung sidewalk doon. So, halos katumbas ng Ayala but slightly less width. So, you can, ang tinatawag namin doon sa mga kalye sa urban centers, road diet. So, kung sumobra ka ng pwede, yung default kasi ng mga traffic engineers natin sa width ng lane is 4 meters, 4.2 meters. Halos kasing lalim ng parking lot. Pero that's a width na kailangan mo lang sa highway driving.
Kasi mabilis yung takbo.
Pupunta ka ng Europe or Japan, the lane widths are only 9 feet. Or a little over 3 meters. So sobra ng 1 meter. And the other advantage of road dieting is that it will force drivers to slow down, which will make it less dangerous for pedestrians.
I see.
So itong mga retrofit na to, mga corrective, ginagawa na sa ibang bansa to.
Okay. So, historically, sa ibang bansa, merong mga congested cities that has benefited from this?
Yes, and in fact also shutting down roads for full pedestrianization. Dahil nakikita nila na yung ibang lugar, kung sarahan mo yung kalye, say in Singapore, in Tokyo, in Paris, yung ibang kalye, hindi na kailangan ng sa London, sinasara yung ilang Piccadilly Circus, Trafalgar Square. Sa Paris, yung Place de la République. Ginawa nilang pedestrian plaza na yan.
Okay.
Ang magrereklamo lang yung
private car owners, I guess.
Private car owners. But you already have congestion pricing in these cities na kung it discourages people from using the center kasi ginagawang bypass lang yung city center para pumunta sa kabila ng city. So with congestion pricing na pioneer ni Singapore 30 years ago, iiwas ka kasi i-charge ka.
Tama.
Pumasok sa which we haven't done here.
Should we?
We should.
Malaking benefit, no? Kasi duluwag.
Except that Metro Manila is multi-CBD.
Oo nga
Dahil nga, hindi na plano ng uso o hindi na sunod yung mga...
And it's like 5 kilometers away from each other, yung mga CBDs na to.
Malapit masyado.
Oo,
Kasi it's left to market forces.
Was that a fault of bad city planning or wala lang talaga tayong choice?
It's a fault of all of our master plans not being followed since the start of the century.
Oh, so we had good plans but we didn't.
Good.
Okay.
Ang history ng city planning dito sa Pilipinas, especially Metro Manila, is plans that were made but were never followed.
Yun yung story ng buong Pilipinas.
My count is about 12.
Oh my.
Of which there are about 4 major ones, starting from the 1905 plan for Manila by Daniel Burnham, yung nagplano ng Chicago.
Okay.
At Washington, D.C. May plano siyang ginawa na dapat sinundan natin, hindi natin nasunod. And then in the 1930s, they reviewed it, hindi rin nasunod. In 1939 or 1940, they did the Quezon City Plan. Agera, di ba?
Yeah.
So, ni-revive nila in 1947, 49, 56, 55, 56, and 59.
Okay.
Iba-ibang versions ng plan for Quezon City and Metro Manila. None of them were followed.
Oh.
And then during the martial law years, nag-set up yung Metro Manila Commission, di ba? Which was headed by a very good planner, Dinky Heinz Sedel. Gumawa sila ng master plan ng Metro Manila kasi by that time, by the 1970s, lumaki na yung urban area.
Economic boom.
Gumawa sila ng master plan, including addressing all of the issues, including flooding. Hindi rin natupad yung flooding, ginawa lang yung Manggahan floodway.
Yeah.
Hindi ginawa yung Parañaque floodway.
I see.
Because yung Laguna de Bay was supposed to receive. Yan yung retention pond for the flood waters from Marikina and Sierra Madres. Dapat holding area lang yan at yung outlet sa Parañaque. So that's why it still floods, is because they constructed only one half of the solution.
Wow. Okay. Grabe. Nagulat ako dun. That's the past 1 minute of you talking. All this while, akala ko we had poor plans or baka wala tayong plans and we just, alam mo yun,
well, all
chasing our tails, ganun lang.
That's what we're doing is panakiputas lang yung mga solution natin at hindi natin ina-address yung talagang source of the problem. So too little, too late, and not far ahead enough before the problem becomes big. That's why you call it planning, di ba?
Yeah, exactly. And yun yung parang tinuturo parati sa school. Like, bata pa lang tayo, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Yun yung pinaka-basic na stuff eh.
Unfortunately, it used to be na kukunti lang kaming planners.
Yeah.
So sa Philippine Institute of Environmental Planners, ang tawag dito sa city planners, environmental planner. It's just a terminology thing. Pero mas klaro yung city planner, no?
Yeah.
Prior to 10 years ago, there were, just 1,000 plus planners. So in terms of yung proportion to the country, kukunti lang yung trained planners. Of course, now there are more, and we're producing more. But there's still only 2 universities that have a degree in planning.
But we really don't have a shortage naman of people to consult with these things.
Just with most of the other disciplines na related, architecture, landscape architecture, and planning, a lot of the graduates lumalabas na dahil yung job opportunities here are few and far between. And in terms of acting as consultants to local private and public clients, a lot of our professional architects, designers, landscape architects, planners, they're not paid enough, and they're not given the right compensation. So nangyayari, yung mga malalaking real estate developers, they go and get overseas consultants.
Okay. Yeah.
Dahil may bias sila for foreign consultants who are paid 10, 15 times more.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yung creatives natin in
we're getting poached.
Planning and design go overseas.
Yeah.
Because they're treated better.
Of course.
Nawawala na tayo ng
And you can't really blame them.
We can't blame them. So there's yung nasa private and public public institutions and companies to
parang a lot of the industries suffer from that. A lot of our professionals that we train, 'di ba? They get poached and yung mga natira dito medyo nakukula. Kumbaga parang mga all-star players natin nasa ibang bansa naglalaro, parang ganun.
Pag Pinoy na consultant ka in planning, architecture, landscape architecture, or interior design, which are the 4 professions regulated by the government, no? Ang tingin sa iyo Pinoy ka naman, pwede kang tawaran ng gusto.
So, totoo.
Pupunta ka sa kliyente, drawing
I know that all
lang
too
yan.
well. Yeah.
Magsasubmit ka ng proposal, baka pwedeng kalahati na lang yung fee mo.
Tama.
Diba? Kalahati na nga, tapos yung collection
mahirap pa, pahirap
pa. Ng buwan.
Yeah. Tapos na yung serbisyo mo.
Tapos na.
Naniningil ka pa.
Tama yan. So we don't get the respect na from our own people.
That's a very glaring issues in a lot of rin talaga, no. It's kind of unfortunate because we always boast kapag kunwari if these people get achievements abroad and everything, whereas parang nirealize ko rin minsan na parang may mga tao na mag-achieve ng something abroad, they'll be recognized here dahil naka-achieve sila ron. Pero when they were here, they weren't given, the proper...
Which led me to go overseas.
Yeah.
So, throughout the 90s, nasa Singapore ako. But it's not, I was not an OFW. I set up a company.
Oh, okay.
Lakas loob lang ako. Talagang lakas loob.
Yeah.
With only $1,000 in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Nag-set up ako sa Singapore. Nag-establish ako ng practice. So I had a full decade and 2 years, 12 years practicing there. And then that's the only reason na pagbalik ko, medyo may konting attraction ako sa mga
Ganun talaga, like I mean, it's hard to to kind of build a name for yourself here. So when people go abroad and they take the risk, lakas ng loob, yun nga. And then parang dun ka lang ma-recognize bigla kapag meron ka ng basbas ng ibang bansa, parang ganun.
Tama yan. Pero going back to the issue of the planning and planners. Maraming international agencies, funding agencies that give assistance to the government, but because of the nature ng source ng funds, ipapasok din nila yung kanilang mga consultants. May local counterpart naman. Local counterpart.
Okay.
So
may local liaison, parang
gano'n.
Kagaya
ng mga ginawa namin sa Clark Green City, you had a lot of foreign consultants, pero may local counterparts. Pero yung problema sa atin in terms of city planning, it's not really the planners themselves, kasi we have very good
solid plans.
Urban planners, landscape architects. The problem is politics.
Yeah.
So the thing is, ang hirap sa mga urban plans especially, it takes decades to build.
Yeah.
So pag nag-design kasi ng Makati CBD o BGC, i-design ng planner, it takes 20 years or 30 years. Wala yung that long-term vision and continuity. Sa private sector lang na natutupad yan.
Tama.
Kasi yung local government unit and even the national government nasa term ng politician.
Tama.
6 years for national, 3 years for local. So every 3 years, karamihan ng ating mga plano tinatapon na lang.
Hindi rin nakakatulong na kapag kunwari ibang partido yung nanalo in the next term, they usually deprioritize the projects of the predecessor, parang gano'n, kahit gaano kaganda pa yung project na yan.
Which leads us to Metro Manila. The reason why, so dati it was taken as a whole, di ba? Hanggang sa 1950s plans for Quezon City included most of what was called at the time Greater Manila.
Yeah.
Yung Metro Manila was coined only in the 70s during the martial law era. By the 1970s, ginawa ng Metro Manila Commission, kinonsolidate nila yung at the time it was 14 cities and it was 3 cities and 14 towns.
Yeah.
Makati was a town, Pasig was a town under Rizal province.
Yeah.
So essentially ginawa nilang province ang Metro Manila. eventually today's 16 cities and 1 town.
Yeah.
But it was controlled under a central metro governance, which is the Metro Manila Authority. So, di ba dati we had a governor, it was Imelda. But the concept was correct. We are the only metro area in Southeast Asia or even Asia that is not governed by a metro governance. Tokyo is a metro governance. Singapore essentially is a metro governance.
Huge one, yeah.
Kuala Lumpur. Even Jakarta has a somewhat loose metro governance, the Jabotabek collaboration amongst we are the only ones na 16 cities and one ridiculous town that makes duck eggs. Still a town.
Yeah.
Why is it still a town?
Wala lang, they're being single. Wala kung bakit.
So palaging tinatanong sa akin, is it a lack of political will? No, it's because there are 17 political wills. Tapos you add the political will of national government.
Exactly.
So you have roughly 15 major national government-run agencies with jurisdiction over anything that has to do with physical planning.
They're fighting over borders, kung anong limits nila and everything.
Yes, for the local government units. By law, you have as an LGU, all of the LGUs, the 1,500 towns and the 145 cities in the Philippines, have to produce comprehensive land use plans. Ang gandang pakinggan. And they have to do this roughly every 9 years, and then they have to review it every 9 years. But a lot of the time, puro compliance lang.
Okay.
And most of the comprehensive land use plans are comprehensive only in the sense that they comply with what's needed to put in to submit to DILG.
Get so parang bare minimum requirement, ganun lang.
So and a lot of the directions for urban growth in the whole of the Philippines is controlled more by the agenda of large real estate corporations or large corporations rather than the LGUs themselves.
Okay. So medyo, is it privatized or parang pseudo-controlled lang?
It's because they have the wherewithal, financial and long, even to build these things.
Okay.
Hindi kakayanin ng local government magtayo ng bagong township or CBD. Kailangan kumuha sila. That's why they invented the PPP, which is very good.
Okay.
Except that it needs a bit more stringent control at hindi na ma-maximize yung collaboration between public and private. But if you look at it's only the private corporations that have the billions of pesos needed. Well, that's because all of our taxes go nowhere.
Yeah.
If we didn't lose our taxes to God knows where, then we would have the wherewithal nga, kaya natin gawin yung basic infrastructure and even the build-out. Tapos kontrolado natin yung land use instead of having to
and we can give jobs pa to people who need jobs and everything.
You're an economist, so the jobs go to the ones who finance it at the start, and the large corporations, say the malls and all of the profits go to Manila and the corporation rather to the LGUs.
Tama.
The LGUs make some money in terms of the sales tax and real estate taxes, but they don't understand that a lot of the developers impact these cities. Kung maglalagay ka ng independent township or malaking mixed-use commercial complex, maapekto yung infrastruktura ng iyong distrito, yung buong bayan Kasi it will generate traffic. It will absorb all of the water requirements. Tapos pagdating ng ulan, babaha dahil yung dating palayan ginawa mo ng parking lot na puro concrete.
Tama.
So yung mga proyekto na to hektar-hektar yan, no? So if you go to Naga, you have all of the big box malls there. If you look at the city from the air, kikita mo naman na nawala na yung green area. It's a contributor. I mean, granted, the whole Bicol region is a basin in any case. No, it adds to the flooding problems in the central urban area.
But and these are all supposedly addressed dapat kung may execute ng tama yung city planning natin. Like maybe let's not make a lot of parking lots where we need areas na mag-absorb ng floodwater or something like that.
Well, that's why we call it planning. So, yung comprehensive land use plan, iisipin nyo na in advance kung saan natin ilalagay yung mga mixed-use, industrial, commercial, residential.
Tama.
Tapos, pag nagawa mo na yan, before anything gets built, dapat na ipasok mo na yung infrastructure. Nandyan yung transport infrastructure for mobility, hindi lang car-based. Nandyan yung drainage because you know now hindi na ma-absorb ng lupa yung flood waters. Then you have water supply, power supply. So before you build it out, may abang ka na for the final density ng dinesign mo. So if you have a BGC na puro 50-story buildings, na-anticipate mo na yung power requirements, yung drainage requirements, yung water requirements, and then you adjust the infrastructure so it won't adversely affect the districts that are already adjacent to yung katabi niya. Diba? So nakikita natin ngayon, dahil very attractive yung mga ganun sa mga cities or towns, o papayag yung mayor, pero hindi na-address yung pangangailangan ng existing communities.
Tama.
So that's why it's called planning.
It's such a parang if you solve one problem and then it will just spur another problem and things like that. Like kunwari, badly put, gusto ko ng grocery, pagawa tayo ng grocery dito, and it could be, the effect could be like, okay, may sira yung mga halaman dyan, wala ng green spaces and everything. It will create traffic. But it's such a thing na parang, ewan ko ba kung in-anticipate ba ng mga tao or more of parang nabulag lang talaga sila sa
nabubulag sila
projections.
Nabubulag sila sa the shiny and new.
Yes,
so
yes.
One standard hinihingi sa aming mga planner pag na-meet namin yung mayor, yung or governor, gusto namin ng BGC namin.
Tama.
Makati. Even though the city is a secondary city or second or third tier na sub 500,000 in population. Ang Metro Manila kasi is 12 point something, 13 million people. And so yung market niya kayang i-support ng mga CBD na ganito. Pero not so yung secondary cities where your population is between 200 and 500,000. One of the things you look at as a planner is the population increase. So yung density, yung intensity ng urban development, dapat itapat mo sa density ng development to
hold the capacity.
Very good. That's carrying capacity is a very key term na hindi naintindihan ng tao. And that carrying capacity is dependent on what the site or the location can accommodate without killing people.
Mahilig tayo magsiksikan eh.
No, there's good congestion, there is bad congestion.
Oh, really? Okay.
So you can have siksikan.
Okay.
Parts of Tokyo is more dense than Manila.
That's
Parts
true.
of Singapore is more dense. Pero it's smart congestion. That means yung mga squatter areas, tingnan natin. Yung mga squatter areas, Kanyari, ito yung lote ng squatter. Maglalagay sila ng mga bahay-bahay, mga maliliit na skinita. Right? Tapos yung mga bahay-bahay, gano'n, diba? Yan yung isang
patong-patong, magkakadikit.
Pero mga one story at most 2 stories yan. Ang density niya against the total area is a ratio of the floor area of each house against the lot area.
Okay, gets.
So kung may 20 square meter lot ka at nagtayo ka ng 1 story, yung ratio niya is a ratio of 1.
Well, 1:1.
Floor area ratio 1. If you put 2 stories on the whole lot, it's 2. But in most squatter areas, it's about 1.
Okay.
Kasi kahit may second story, may konting gap sometimes in between. So, you're only looking at 1. If you go to Hong Kong, they have high-rise or medium-rise, ang nangyari, instead of occupying this whole area, which is 1, so, puro mga bahay-bahay. Bahay-bahay, no open space, no amenity, right? That's a area factor of 1. The floor area ratio is 8. 7 to 8. In Singapore, slightly less, 4.5. That means you can fit all of these people in a lot area that's only this big.
Tama. Kasi you built vertically, no?
You built vertically.
Yeah.
And then in Singapore, you add the fact na they built, yung ground floor nila is on stilts.
Yeah, okay.
Mainly for ventilation. Yeah, but in the Philippines, we could do that mainly for flooding.
Oo nga, no? That's true, oo nga.
Yeah, you only lose 1 or 1.5 stories.
Yeah.
Pero ligtas ka sa
I mean, and we could add these stories on top of it anyway.
Developers don't like to do that. Sayang na, may benta daw yan eh. Pero, it's simple. You could make that as an ordinance. In any case, all of our informal settlers area and 1/3 of all of our cities is informal. That means we could get it back. All of this can be open space, parks and open space. You could space the mid-rise buildings in between. So it's a matter of common sense. Unfortunately, not so common in the Philippines.
Not so common. So kunwari, magical nangyari, no? President suddenly decided, Mr. Paulo, you have free will.
Oh no, please don't. No, I will not accept this.
Mahirap ba to kind of like repair the situation here, NCR?
The other thing that the planners can't control is population increase. Although temper down yung ating population.
Yes, na-curb nga daw.
Na-curb. Pero still, all of the people are going to the urban centers.
Yes.
So, lumalaki pa rin yung mga populasyon ng mga lungsod at bayan.
Okay.
Diba? So, ang pangangailangan is really basic shelter. So, Secretary Aposar and his USECs are trying to do their job sa 4PH. But how can you build 6 million units? I put it in perspective. To get to 6 million units, we have to build 5 times what Singapore built. 5 times what Singapore built in the last 30 years. By tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Just to get to where we need today.
Today, yeah.
But we are still making babies.
Babies, yes.
So we still have to add.
Yeah.
So it's a much bigger problem than anyone will admit.
Yeah.
So the portfolio of the housing char, whatever that is always doomed to failure.
Oh my
Because
God.
you only have, although they try to address it na ginawang umbrella na yung lahat ng housing agencies under the SHUD.
Okay.
It used to be HLURB and HAO.
Marami.
But still, it's a really big problem that will take us decades to address.
We had a episode before that we tackled yung population natin and yung population density and everything. Medyo na-curb nga, I think, yung rate of we're making. But at the same time, we're still very congested here in Metro Manila. They're always suggesting talaga ang best way to do it is to decentralize and decongest. Ang nakita natin problem, we mentioned kanina, we have like ilang CBDs that are like 4 or 5 kilometers away from each other. A lot of people want to work here. This is where the money is at, diba? So, do you recommend like building cities that like formidable, great cities na talagang tayo ay umalis, diba?
Nangyayari na yan. I mean, it's already happening.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, all of our major cities, if the nearest ones here is San Pablo, Batangas, going up north, you have some of the cities in Bulacan, of course, San Fernando. San Fernando is like a metro area. So from a planning point of view, very interesting pag-aralan yung natural growth of cities. Unplanned, but still natural. And the low-hanging fruit, best opportunities kung saan nga yung livelihood, no? But tama ka. The livelihood is here in Manila because we have not encouraged growth in the provinces. And part of the reason is also access and mobility. Because if our train system kung hindi na natigil yung expansion ng rail system natin in the 1950s, would have been connected like Europe.
Wow.
Because we had a start of a train system. No? And then if you could do that, that means you could connect all of the major cities and encourage growth along the corridors.
Tama.
So, yan ang tinatawag ng aming planners na transit-oriented development. So rail-based mass transit system is the way to go. In fact, ginagawa na natin, except that it's very slow. And
quite slow. Taking its time.
Quite slow, but it's there.
Yeah.
The only problem is that we're putting in the North Rail, we're putting in the South Rail. We're still not providing the planning framework
here
for good congestion around those terminals.
Okay.
Ang problema natin yung in between modes of transport. Kunyari, may maganda tayong rail. Baba ka sa Binyan. Mula sa pagbaba mo sa Binyan, pagpunta mo sa mga factory, you have to rely on the 1940s jeepneys and tricycles to get around.
Yeah.
You are still not consolidating or integrating yung different modes of transport.
Exactly.
You can't just have the rail. It's very good. It's much better than cars.
Yeah.
Pero kailangan natin lahat ng hierarchy na from the train station. So each of the train station kilometers away, diyan ka bababa, you have to have a transit or the hub na kung saan ka sasakay to get into the other areas where you're going. So that is part of planning. Yung one layer of urban planning is transport planning. It's also covered by another specialty, which is transport planning. Okay. So we work always with multidisciplines. We have a transport planner. We have a hydrologist, water resource planner.
Tama.
We have power. Somebody to handle that. Of course, everything orchestrated by the city planner, who then turns that into reality based on yung vision ng communities or the LGU. That's one thing. One of the problems with city planning is very few local officials understand what it is.
Yun nga.
So kailangan i-seminar mo sila. Tapos kailangan i-facilitate mo yung visioning exercise para malaman nila kung paano i-shape yung goal, yung goals, visions and goals. That's the first step. But then, a lot, gaya ng inumpisan mo kanina, yung ano nila is, I want what's shiny and new.
Yes.
Not what is right or what is yung sapat para sa community mo, sapat para sa budget and projections.
Yeah.
And then the participatory part of it, yung dapat sumali yung mga stakeholders, may malaking pagkukulang din sa proseso na ginagawa natin ngayon. Karamihan ng mga stakeholder meetings na ma-marginalize yung dapat makinggan. At ang pumupunta yung mga may agenda na large corporations or yung ano. So it's a very flawed process at the moment. We're trying to improve it. The Philippine Institute of Environmental Planners are trying to capacity build with LGUs. It's an uphill battle.
May konting sigh or medyo may hinga ka before sinabi yung uphill battle. I could feel it. And a lot of people, yung mga resource persons that we invite here, yun yung point of frustration nila eh. Like, we have great plans, we have great ideas, pero uniting and convincing all of these people who are supposed to be convinced and are supposed to be equipped to be convinced, di ba?
Well, that's the thing. They're not equipped. So I was at the talk of the Philippine Professional Summits. There's a group of. There are 46 professions kasi na regulated by government. So may association kami. So sabi ko sa mga kasama kong mga professional, alam nyo, talagang hirap kumuha ng lisensya for all of our 46. Kailangan mag-aral ka ng 5 years, kailangan may experience, kailangan mag-aral ka para sa board. Tapos you have to pass the board.
Yeah.
Pero kung gusto mo maging politician, kailangan pwedeng artista.
Pwede.
Walang qualification. Walang qualification.
And they will govern over all of these experts.
They're the ones that have to make the final decision.
Yes.
So hindi lang sila. Yung mga konsehal.
Tama.
Right?
Oh, yan. Dami pa, no?
So may yung ibang mga progressive na may mga workshop at seminars to bring them up to a certain level. Pero I think it's time we set a minimum level of competence for public officials.
Meron akong last bit of inquiry. Because I've always seen the Philippines as tropical country, very rich soil, ganda ng natural resources natin.
Rich soil, but we're losing our soil due to erosion.
Yun nga, yung sinasabi ko.
Malaking problema yung loss of soil cover because of na-denuded na yung uplands, the
We have no rainforest anymore.
All of our soil cover goes down and silts up the rivers and goes to our lakes.
Yeah.
So nawawala yung soil, yung productivity ng agricultural areas natin.
I was gonna ask about green spaces in cities.
Yeah, there are two. You're talking at two scales.
Yeah.
One is the green spaces within towns and cities, and one is the green spaces in regional or country level. We're losing both.
Oh, okay.
Degrading both at the same time. Losing in our towns and cities dahil walang control sa ano. There is no law specifically specifying proportion of open space to built up space. No laws for, say, parks. You have only BP 220, which is in the subdivision law, that requires 15% open space for subdivisions, but not for the city itself. Ang uso ngayon is mixed use. People live in condos or apartments, multi-level na. Wala kang mapuntahan na ano. In Singapore, you can get to a park within 15 minutes walk.
They have great spaces na green.
Yung peg natin dapat is that you have access to a park or open space within a 15-minute walk.
Tama.
And then the proportion set by the World Health Organization is 9 square meters of open green space for every person living in the city.
Oh my.
Manila has about 1.
Expecting a very, very low number.
But and not all of these open spaces. No. So may open space, but you have to design them as open space that can be used by people. That's where I wear my hat as a landscape architect. So landscape architects design parks. It's not a simple thing. Latag lang tayo ng damo at saka tanim tayong puno.
Like a playground.
It's more technical than that. All right. So we study 5 years to learn how to make parks and open space. We have to design them to accommodate public use. Iba talaga yung it's really a specialty. So we don't have the specialists engaged to design parks. A lot of the time, these parks and open space are designed by engineers.
Gets.
And then wala tayong regulation na setting aside open space for urban centers. Maliban lang sa subdivision.
Iba ang definition ng park na dito. Pag sinabing park dito, dahil gumakayo ko subdivision, park is just 4 na bakanting lote na may playground at may basketball court. Nung pumunta ako sa Canada, I visited my sister, pumunta ka dyan sa Stanley Park. Akala ko...
Hektarya yan.
Nawala ako. Sabi ko, ito, kapal na mga puno. Yun ang totoong park.
Yan yung tamang proportion for a city.
Yeah.
And then you have a hierarchy, a park. Hindi man one size fits all.
Yeah.
Central Park, you cannot build that anymore. Central Park is 5 times the size of Rizal Park.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's already called a regional park.
Yeah.
So you start with a pocket park, like the one we designed here sa Emerald.
Yeah.
It's just 600 square meters. Pocket park or neighborhood park. And then you have a district park, which is a few hectares. And then you have city parks, which start at about 20 hectares. So dapat may hierarchy ka of parks. And we did have that. If you look at the plans for Quezon City in 1955 and 56, it was laid out all a hierarchy of parks and open space because they had a landscape architect in the Plantilla designing the system, who was also the planner. So it was an American who was captured during the war, and then before he left to go back to the States, he helped a local landscape architect by the name of Anselmo Alquito. Ginawa nila ng buong plano yung Metro Manila. Alam mo kung saan yung Central Park natin?
Saan ba?
North Avenue, South Avenue, East Avenue, and West
Avenue.
Avenue.
Is it the Memorial Circle area? Ganun?
No, the Memorial Circle is only 25 hectares.
Okay.
Yung North Avenue and South Avenue, East Avenue.
You mean that
whole quadrant?
Yeah.
That divided by EDSA and Quezon. That was supposed to be 400 hectares of park.
Oh my God.
Yes, oh my God. And then over since the 1950s, chinap-chop nila, binigay kung kani-kanino.
Yeah, I do shows there.
So
East Ave and West Ave.
Natitira na lang yung elliptical.
Yeah.
Was supposed to be where our Senate and Congress was. It was not a park.
Okay.
Naging park lang nung nilipat nila sa Batasan Pambansa.
Okay.
So that 25 hectares is now Quezon Memorial.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Memorial for Quezon. And you have at least another 30 hectares of parks and wildlife. So you only have 50 which is roughly the same size as Rizal Park. So nawala yung
Nawala,
we lost the opportunity to develop a park large enough for the whole of Metro Manila nung pinamigay lahat ng
yun na sana yun.
Aside from that, Quezon City was to have a lot of pocket parks.
I see.
There was a whole system. And another thing, all of these systems kept in mind na lahat ng estero, lahat ng creek, lahat ng kanal, yung easement niya malalapad. If you look at the original plans, the easements were like 25 to 50 meters. To ensure na kung umapaw man, hindi aabot sa mga bahay-bahay natin. Siyempre, naging greedy yung mga landowner. At na-enact yung water code. Our water code for Philippines is only 3 meters in urban areas.
I see. Right.
Not enough. It was meant only as an easement to be able to clean the canals. But it should really be in the light of climate change.
Tama.
Ito yung adjustment natin.
Dapat mas marami pa nga.
Mas malapad dapat yan. Dapat gamitin natin yung easement requirement ng agricultural areas, which is 20 meters.
Para accommodate all of these things. Well, sir, I wish we had more time because there were so many things that we want to talk about. And sobrang enlightening. Thank you so much for coming here. The Medyo Serious Talk Show is on every Tuesday at 1 News. And kung wala kayong TV, like katulad ko, you can just search it on YouTube, Medyo Serious Talk Show. It will be up Tuesday night as well. Thank you so much, Sir Paulo Alcazar. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.